What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the PikaPikaPaPa, and this is one of my most prized possessions here on the channel. So 27 months ago, I decided that I wanted to start warehousing the end of month booster box price for all of sets in the Sword and Shield era. Now listen, I also did it for Sun and Moon, and I promise you, if you enjoy this video, I'm putting together Sun and Moon. Sun and Moon is absolutely fire. I can't wait to show you that stuff. But this is all about Sword and Shield. So listen, I decided that I wanted to warehouse that information, most importantly for Sword and Shield, because I wanted to understand how those booster box prices would move over time, because obviously I knew that a future generation would come out, and I was hoping that I could use the learnings from the Sword and Shield era, like the big sets, even the smaller sets, the new sets, and somehow give us an idea of what might happen in the future. Now again, none of this is a one-for-one. You have to understand different sets have different cards, and there's going to be different popularities, and there's going to be different times in the hobby, but I still think that this kind of information gives us a huge leg up on other people in the hobby, because hey listen, I always say let's play chess when everybody else plays checkers. Now what this does is, because I have it in Excel, I can hit that handy dandy little forecast sheet button right there, and when I hit that button, this is what it gives me. It takes all of those previous data points, it breaks it out into this really cool graph which shows us where the prices have been, but there at the very end it gives us this trident, and I'm going to walk you through what all of these things are, and if you can make it to the actual graphs themselves, which is coming up really soon, we're going to go through it set by set. It's the blue line on this graph that gets me so excited. Understanding where these sets have been, seeing how they've moved over time, the ups, the downs, and all of it is incredibly impactful. So to walk you through all of this, as I just said, that blue line is where the set prices have been. This is a Battle Styles example right here, and you can see that it spits all of this stuff out. Now, I have done this video a lot in the past. My hope is that in this version, I get it much more consolidated and condensed to make it easier for you to understand. So you got the major blue line, which goes up and down. That's the booster box prices. At the end, you have this trident, right? So it gives you three different things. The bottom gray line right there, that's the lower confidence bound. Basically, the math saying, hey, listen, if everything goes to H in a handbasket, this is as low as we think the booster box price can go. Then you have the yellow line right there at the top, right? The yellow line is the math saying, hey, listen, this is the upper confidence bound. If things get crazy in a good way, this is about as high as we think it could go. And then the orange line in the middle right there, that is the actual forecast. That is the math saying, forget it going crazy one way or the other. This is where we actually think the prices are going to go. Now, I do this quarter by quarter, so this is coming in at the end of 3 months from now. So it's a relatively short window. If you expand it out longer, these numbers get really crazy. They get really wide. And again, I do updates quarterly, so that's why we look at it from this 3-month view. So big disclaimer here is, remember this, math is black and white. It can't account for things being sold out. It can't account for things coming back in stock. All it does is take the previous data points, it analyzes trends, it analyzes price movement, it looks at the different months, and it gives something that spits out. Obviously, if Lost Origin or Brilliant Stars sells out relatively soon, the prices are going to go crazy, right? Astral Radiance just randomly sold out, so who knows what's going to happen with that. But I will say this, we have done this 4 different times, 4 different quarters, which 12 different sets gives us 48 different, data points to come after, and 96% of the time it has beaten that bottom forecast, which it should, right? That's not a big surprise because this is sealed. We expect sealed products to go up. But what was interesting to me is 65% of the time it is actually these booster box prices have beat the actual forecast. Now, I will say this, a lot of the forecast misses tend to be in the beginning of the era because the math keeps saying, hey, we think that you're going to go up, but it just doesn't seem to be happening. And you will see that as we get into some of those Sword and Shield, Rebel Clash, some of the Darkness Ablaze sets from earlier in this era. You're going to see there's a couple misses there. But this is really good on kind of the more recent, the more hype sets right there. So anyways, really cool stuff. I hope you enjoy that. Before we get into the actual meat and potatoes, I wanted to remind everybody we're doing a huge contest this week to celebrate 5,000 subscribers. So we're giving away 3 things, an Evolving Skies Elite Trainer box. I would love it for you to win that. We're also giving away a Pikachu V Union box from Celebrations. And last but not least, we are giving away a one-of-one piece of PikaPikaPapa merch. So I think we got 3 awesome prizes. In order to get into the contest, you got to be a subscriber, you got to hit a thumbs up, and you got to comment down below. Listen, I can't thank you all enough for all the help getting to 5,000 subscribers. I wanted to give back, and I think these prizes are really cool. So don't forget to do that. Hit the subscribe button, give a thumbs up, drop a comment down below, get into the contest, and win something awesome. Now, with all that out of the way, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this, and here it is, Silver Tempest. Now, there's less data points for Silver Tempest, right? Because Silver Tempest is the most recent Sword and Shield set to be released. But what's cool about this is you can see that kind of pre-release, it started out at $140, it dropped back down, but it bounced back up relatively quickly. Now it is the end era for Sword and Shield. It's got a really hot Lugia chase card in there, right? So that explains a lot, but we certainly aren't seeing this kind of price movement with Scarlet and Violet. But again, beginning of Scarlet Violet, beginning of an era versus the end of an era like Silver Tempest, can't really compare the two, but it is interesting to see this. And when you look at that trend line, it is really close to flat. I mean, the trend line is barely going up, you know, from the 120 range, maybe up to the 130, and you see that the forecast there is following that trend, coming in at $142. Now, the upper confidence bounce is $185. I think Silver Tempest would have to sell out to get that high because, again, Silver Tempest is available on the Pokemon Center, but less than understanding what this is going to do, because I do think there's a lot of time left to get Silver Tempest at or below MSRP. The cool thing for me is just looking at that blue line and seeing how it's performed over time. Now, getting into some of the really cool sets here is Lost Origin. Now, do you guys remember back when Lost Origin was restocked, even though it wasn't sold out at the Pokemon Center? Again, I mean, I don't think that has to happen. I don't think it has to be that way. What I loved about this is the booster box price got really, really hot up into the 170s, and then guess what? Pokemon released a lot of Lost Origin booster boxes back into distributors, went back into the local card shops, which was great, and then you saw this decline for about 7 months, right? The price started to come back down, but it is getting hot, hot, hot again. Now, we have seen what's happened with Fusion Strike. We've seen what happened with Chilling Reign when they sold out, and I promise you, when Lost Origin eventually sells out, I don't know when it's going to happen, but when it does, I think Lost Origin is going to do the same thing. It's got some fire cards in there. Trainer galleries are heat, you know what I mean? The Giratina chase card is absolutely insane. So I think Lost Origin has a very bright future in front of it. And again, the booster box price is right at where it was during the last restock, which is very, very encouraging for me. I do think that when the market price gets that much higher over the price on the Pokemon Center, I do think that most people are going to be buying on the Pokemon Center, which means, hey, it's got to sell out at some point. So Lost Origin has some really aggressive prices on there. Only way it's going to get there, I think, is if Lost Origin eventually sells out on the Pokemon Center. Now, next one right here is Astral Radiance. Speaking of selling out on the Pokemon Center, I did not have that one on my bingo card for this month, which is really, really cool. I mean, I don't know. I keep thinking to myself, there's got to be a restock of Astral Radiance, right? Like, it's still relatively new, but then again, if there's going to be a restock of Astral Radiance, Lost Origin is even newer than Astral Radiance, so will there be a restock of Lost Origin? I don't know. It's so crazy. That's what I love about this hobby. This is all so much fun to talk about, but Astral Radiance is certainly getting up there in age. So I don't know, but when you look at the growth overall, it's been a really steady kind of growth. You see that it did this bowl shape right there where it started off north of 140, came all the way back down for a while, worked its way up, and really since, I don't know, February of 2023, it has been a very slow and steady growth up there and to the right. Now, currently it's at $144, so it's sitting right around MSRP. The forecast doesn't give it a lot of love because the last year and a half, or really just year, the last year the price growth has been really, really slow. So again, I think a lot of people are still going to be focused on Lost Origin and Brilliant Stars. I don't think this one is going to pop off too crazy if it's restocked, but if it remains sold out, then who knows? If it remains sold out, it is going to be absolutely game on, because I do see a lot of people FOMOing into this because there's so much hype and excitement around Sword and Shield. So I will say this, if it remains sold out, I think it could absolutely hit that upper confidence bound. If it is restocked, you know, in the next couple weeks or so, as we've seen in the past, I do think it's going to remain at MSRP for a while, but this is something to keep an eye on. I'm really pumped up about this. The first really of the late series Sword and Shield sets to be sold out, so this could give us some idea of what might happen. Really cool set, really cool that it's sold out, and I can't wait to see this going on. Now, remember we talked about Lost Origin, right? Brilliant Stars did the same thing, the exact same restock when Lost Origin was kind of getting up into the 170s. But guess what? The Brilliant Stars booster box didn't recover quite the way that Lost Origin did. Matter of fact, it's still sitting right at about $145. So that's kind of off trend, right? Brilliant Stars has got that big Chase Charizard in it. You know, everybody loves Charizard. Brilliant Stars has got trend. Like, there's a lot of good things to love about Brilliant Stars, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't gotten the same amount of market love that Lost Origin does. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't think as soon as this flips to sell out, it's not going to go through the roof. Matter of fact, if it sells out relatively soon, the way Astral Radiance did, I think that upper confidence bound of $176, I think it's going to blow that through the roof. I think Brilliant Stars has a lot of momentum behind it. So another one that's going to be really interesting, but the biggest call out to me was, if you remember the way Lost Origin performed after the restock, it dropped down and then really started to work its way up. Brilliant Stars has been very different. The market kind of just kept it flat there from, I don't know, March of 2023 all the way till just about now. It's just starting to hit that that number. So interesting to watch. I'm a big believer in Brilliant Stars. I know a lot of people that I talk to in the Discord and other areas are as well. So we'll have to see what happens when that eventually sells out. But if it does, I think it's just going to go absolutely to the moon. Now, speaking of things selling out and going to the moon, here is Fusion Strike. And the biggest learning for me on Fusion Strike is when you looked at all of the other sets that we talked about, look at how Fusion Strike was in the $90 range for most of 2022. Up until really November of 2022 is when it started to get hot. And it never saw, remember all of the graphs we've already looked at, we see these aggressive ups, these aggressive downs, we see these big price swings, you know, one way or the other. Fusion Strike has just been a steady Eddie all along the way. And I mean, how many of us are kicking ourselves in the tail for not understanding how great Fusion Strike was going to be and going back and picking it up for $90 and back in 2022. But that's the lesson learned here. It had an awesome chase card in the Gengar. Everybody knew it was going to be a big chase card. Everybody knew pull rates weren't great in Fusion Strikes. For whatever reason, we're focused on other things. But look what happened as soon as it sold out. Once that thing sold out, it took off like a scalded rabbit, up at $230 a booster box right now. Now, the forecast is relatively conservative only because it does have a history of slow growth rates. So the math is saying, hey, maybe this was just an anomaly. But that upper confidence bound at $300 over the next couple months, I don't know. That's a really high number. But the way Fusion Strike is moving right now, it could get close to it. I don't think it's a $300 booster box over the next 3 months, but I do think that it can get, I don't know, in the 250s, 260s. We'll have to see. Certainly lots and lots to be excited about in Fusion Strike. Now, another one that has absolutely blown it out of the water is Evolving Skies. And another huge lesson for me, and I hope you guys take the same thing away from this, is this set, I mean, we always knew it was great. Everybody knew Evolving Skies was the big set in the Sword and Shield era. There was no question about that. There was no concern. Like, it wasn't a secret. We all knew that. But look at how slow and steady the price has been over the last really 2.5 years. You know what I mean? Like, it has just been slow and steady. And only until the last 30, 45 days has it taken this aggressive upward trajectory. It was been a slow, steady burn. So maybe back in 2022, if we knew this was going to be a big set, you know, at $200, $250 a booster box, I get it, that's a lot of money. But when it is the set, when everybody aligns on it being the set, $250 a booster box is probably a great deal. There will be a the set here in the Scarlet and Violet era, and I think once all of us understand what that is going to be, even if it's $250 a booster box, we've seen what Team Up has done, we've seen what Evolving Skies has done. Let's take those lessons and apply it, and let's all be really, really happy, because Evolving Skies is just nuts. Now, I don't think it's going to hit the forecast at $900 over the next 3 months. I don't think it's going to hit the upper confidence bound of $1,100 over the next 3 months, but I do think it'll continue to climb. I don't know. Maybe it will hit $800. Maybe it will hit $900. If anything can do it, Evolving Skies is. This set's an absolute freight train. But I took some great lessons away from Fusion Strike and from Evolving Skies, and I hope that you guys find value in that as well. Now, the next one I want to talk about is Chilling Reign. This is kind of the one that started it all in the Sword and Shield space, from the sold out to just popping off like crazy. And this is another one. It was in the $100 range all the way through 2022. Then it had this really crazy aggressive spike. I mean, from November, December, January 2023, it just jumped up almost $40, and then it held the line. It held there flat at MSRP for quite a while, and then it sold out, and it didn't have quite the same aggressive spike that you saw from Fusion Strike, but it did start to climb, and it is continuing to climb right now at just shy of $200 a booster box. Now the forecast is coming in at $215. I think that's a fair forecast. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not buying Chilling Reign at $191. I would much rather be buying Lost Origin or Brilliant Stars at MSRP, and we're going to talk about that throughout the rest of this video, because I think that's very important when we start talking about the forecast and the future prices of some of these other sets on here. Now, again, $215 forecast. It could get there if people are FOMO and still trying to pick up those Chilling Reigns. Upper confidence bound of $245. I guess it could get there, but for me, again, I think there's other places to spend your money right now, and it's not saying Chilling Reign isn't a fantastic set. It is, but I do think there's some better opportunities. So, getting into the other ones right here, Battle Styles. Now, I told you that some of the earlier stage sets are the ones that missed forecast. This is one that on last quarter, this one missed the forecast. Look at the price. For this price, just hasn't really moved much. Going all the way back to January of 2022, this was a $90 box, and now you think all the way in March of 2024, it's a $109 box. It has moved 19 total dollars over 27 months, which is an incredibly long time for a set like Battle Styles to be flat. I know it's not the best set in the world, but at least it's got alt arts in it, right? It's got the Sleepy T-Tar. Like, I'm a fan of Battle Styles. I think what Battle Styles and some of these other sets that we're going to be talking about here towards the end is they're just not going to be able to find any kind of traction or any kind of momentum until these later sets set Sword and Shield era things start to sell out, because again, even though it's only $109, I'm not sure if I would spend $109 on Battle Styles booster box. I would probably be looking to spend my money on some of these other Sword and Shield era products that I think are a little more hyped, have a little more upside, and are still at or below MSRP right now. So it could hit the forecast of $113. I don't think it's going to get anywhere near the upper confidence bound of $27, but I do think when things start to sell out on Pokemon Center, people will look to Battle Styles, because again, not a terrible set in the grand scheme of things. Next one right here, Vivid Voltage. Vivid Voltage, look at that trend line. I mean, this thing has been flat for 27 months. It is incredible for me to look at that. It just... And I get it. Vivid Voltage was printed into the ground. Vivid Voltage came out right at the peak of the pandemic. Pokemon did the right thing. They printed and printed and printed to make make sure everybody who wanted it could get it. But man, the price has really, really struggled. And it has that Fire Pikachu Rainbow Secret Rare in there. Like, I love that card, but we'll have to see what it's going to take for this to reach full potential. Again, hanging in there at $136. The forecast is following the trend, Ryan. The forecast is only up $1, because why would it do anything different? Again, the math is black and white. It sees it's been flat for 27 months. And the math isn't going to risk it. It's like, well, I'm just going to say you're going to stay flat for another 3 months. I don't think it's going to touch the upper confidence bound, but I do think that when things start to sell out, again, this will be one of the sets that people start to rotate into. So we'll have to keep an eye on that one. Darkness Ablaze right here, another one that's been really flat, another one where we see the forecast following the trend. Again, $147. It's sold out on the Pokemon Center. I mean, we're getting into some sets that are actually relatively old, right? I mean, we're talking years and years here. It's hard to believe that, as much as we all love Sword and Shield. I start to look at some of these early era ones, and they are really old. Now, a forecast of $154, upper confidence bound of $176. It's got a Charizard in it, but that Charizard is worth like $25. So this is not going to be one of the best sealed products of all time. Is it going to appreciate in value? Of course it will. When all Sword and Shield products are sold out, I think people are going to start rotating and looking at some of these lower price Sword and Shield booster box, the Darkness Ablaze, the Vivid Voltage, the Battle Styles that we just talked about. But I think we got a long time till that happens, so I think that this forecast is probably well placed, and I think the upper confidence bound, it's not going to get anywhere near that right there. Getting into another one that I think is a little bit overvalued right now, and so did the math, because it's below forecast, and so does the market, right? Because look at that graph on the far right. We don't see a lot of them. Look at that curve on the way down. Rebel Clash has been on the decline, and I understand this was really before the Pokemon, or before the big pandemic pump. Everybody says this was a little bit short printed, so maybe that's why it's all the way up at $222 a booster box right now. But again, I don't see anybody spending $222 on a Rebel Clash booster box when there's so many other great opportunities out there to buy it. Now, this has been up over $200 for quite a while. We haven't seen a lot of big price movements. I think this is exactly where this box should be. Again, I do think it will continue to come down a little bit. I think this is one that's going to miss the forecast next month. I think the prices are going to start to come down. I don't think that a lot of people are shopping for this. So this will be one to keep an eye on. And again, this is the risk, and not really a risk because there's no money into it, but this is one of the challenges that you see when these forecasts come out for these early era sets. But Rebel Clash is dropping a little bit. I'd love to pick this up just because I'm trying to complete that Sword and Shield booster box set. I want to have one of every single one. So I'll pick it up at some point. Hopefully I can get it sub $200. And again, I don't think it's going to be a huge investment piece, but great for the personal collection. Final one right here, Sword and Shield missed forecast again. And just like we saw with Rebel Clash, the price on this one has been coming down. Rebel Clash and Sword and Shield are going to remain under pressure until all of the Sword and Shield products are sold out, because I think Lost Origin and Brilliant Stars are better than it. I think Silver Tempest is better than it. I think Brilliant Stars is better, or I'm sorry, Battle Styles is better than it. Vivid Voltage, like I just don't see a lot of people flooding into these two sets until everything else sells out. So hey, listen, it's still $266 a booster box. It still has a forecast, which it's 100% going to miss, and it's certainly going to miss the upper confidence bound. So anyways, I really enjoy looking at this. Again, the value in this isn't necessarily in the forecast moving forward, but it's in watching the blue lines in the past and the way that we're going to be able to use this data in the future to kind of trend out any future sets or eras that come out. So don't forget to enter the contest. We got Evolving Skies booster boxes. We got a Pikachu V Union box. We got a 101 PikaPikaPaPa merch. So hit that subscribe button, give a thumbs up, drop a comment down below. I hope you win. I appreciate you for watching. I hope you guys have an epic one. I'll talk to you soon. See you, everybody. Bye.